Wait a minute, let me admit everybody here.
Where's he?
She's here. All right, now we should be all set.
But you allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, attendance, Neil Mascola here, Eileen Bronco.
Here.
Tommy Kieran here, Francis Santana,
Here.
AJ Ortis absent. So I'm gonna appoint Francis to the board. In place of AJ. All right. So I will I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 15, 2023 zoning commission meetings.
Second.
For the second.
You make the motion, I make the second.
Oh,
Well,
you
you
did?
made the motion.
You
I'm
made the
seconding
I
your
made the
motion.
motion.
So she second.
Yeah, Ricky made the motion.
Okay, so she second, we're all set.
All in favor?
Bye.
Opposed? All right, so let's go into new business A. Commission discussion. For the site plan approval for a tree clearing and stump removal process for the property located at 30 William C. Rado Drive, applicant for Daisy Building and Engineering Company.
So we have Rich Hall here, he'll introduce himself. This is a lot up in the industrial park that's currently forested and whatnot, and the company next door does own it, correct? And they're gonna clear it, their goal is to clear it,
It's just calling it one.
right, and they wanna,
They want to
Clear.
clear it and stuff it, yep.
okay, so that's what he's gonna go over.
Okay, so Rich Hall, Borghese Building and Engineering, 2155 East Main Street, Torrington. Here seeking approval for the site plan application to clear and stump 6.8 acre lot, currently PD8 zone at 30 Rado Drive, William C. Rado Drive Senior, up there in the industrial park. So what you have in front of you, which I just handed out, is a revised site plan, sedimentation and erosion control plan, SP1 and SP2. I'll just go over the few points on it. I do apologize for not being able to put up on the screen for you. Due to the lack of compass heading on this thing, I'm going to refer to the front of the lot as that which borders William C. Rado Drive. Right, so what you see is an area to be cleared, which is approximately 4.8 acres. At the front of the lot, you'll see a rectangular dotted area there. That's a staging area for the logs as they get cut down and placed to be picked up. We have a stump staging area and a chip stockpile staging area as well for while the work is being performed out there on the lot. Immediately behind that, you'll see a black dotted line loops around the back of that staging area, if you will. That's a silt fence. Off to the bottom of the page here at the front of the lot, you see a proposed construction entrance, which is minimum 6-inch depth of 3 minus or whatever it is aggregate in there, so it'll be a proper construction entrance placed over filter fabric and so forth. As we move around the lot a bit down both borders, you'll see a dotted line, heavy black dotted line down both borders of the lot extending back to the back of the lot. That is a silt fence as well. So we're going to put silt fence basically on 3 sides of the area which we're going to be performing the work in. At the back of the clearing area, you'll see a darker border labeled hay bales. We will be putting hay bales both up the side, about approximately is a 40 scale map. So we're going to say 60 to 80 feet up the side line behind the silt fence and all the way across the back to help hold the silt fence and hold the silt as well. That's really the gist of it. There will be no grading on the site. This is just a request to clear the lot and stump the lot. We're gonna remove the stumps, knock the dirt back into the holes, not change the topography of the lot at this point, and just prepare it for folks to look at it and Mike Scala to market this thing. He's potentially planning an 80,000 square foot building, which we've discussed with the with zoning and with Jim as well previously. We're not at this point applying for a site plan approval for a building. We're not applying for construction of any kind. We just simply want to clear and stump the lot. And so my request, we ask tonight, is that we could get the commission to approve the clearing and stumping of the lot, and if it has to be conditional upon Jim signing off on the site plan, as there is one more thing that he'd like on there, which I'm happy to put on there, and he may want to add a little silt fence or something. So I think I don't want to speak for him, but I think Jim and I can certainly come to an agreement on what needs to be done on the site plan. And we'll do and we'll do it until he's signed it.
Jim, you want to elaborate?
Their first plan was a little shy of what was needed. Second plan's significantly better, especially on the fact that it says now that there's no grading. Soil, it looks pretty good and not as erodible as a lot we come on to. They still need to put that town seal thing that where we sign, or I'm supposed to sign that says it meets the town's requirement. And then we would have to determine if the commission wants to hold a bond in place for it, for the stabilization. One question I have is how long, once you strip and stump it, how long before you try to reestablish?
Well, building on it, yeah.
Well, put a building on, or at least try to reestablish, stabilize it.
Well, we will state anything that we disturb when we stump. I believe it's in our erosion control plan that we will seed it. We'll stabilize it.
Immediately, pretty much.
Immediately, yeah.
Within this season.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly blow down, we can seed it, we can blow down mulch or wood chips. There's gonna be plenty of wood chips out there. We can stabilize by anywhere where we pull a stump, we can spread some wood chips on it, seed it, whatever's necessary.
I mean, that was my big concern, is you clear a lot, I didn't want to grade it, and then left in that condition without any approval in the future, and then it just sits there for,
Yeah.
who knows how long. But if they're going to, restabilize it, and they're gonna develop it in the future, then.
Yeah, I mean, if that's a suitable means, if that will meet your requirements, Jim, we'd be happy to spread chips out.
Well, chips are good for a year kind of thing, but beyond that, it's.
I think the concern is the holes that will be left when you stump it. Like you said, wood chips will only last for so long. You don't want to grade it, but I think that a bond would be important to stabilize the area, given how many trees are there that have to be stumped.
Yeah, and we were, as I said, we're planning on seeding anything that we disturbed with, some kind of a mix that would take hold pretty quickly. So seeding wood chips, we're gonna do both,
When do you plan on putting?
I don't have an answer for you there. That really is up to Scala. He does have a couple of interested takers, to the best of my knowledge. We were asked to give him a budgetary number on a 80,000 square foot refrigerated building, which was food processing, storage, some kind of operation like that. So he's marketing the site and an 80,000 square foot building right now. And I know that he is, I'm not going to say in active negotiations, but he's got some takers. So his objective is to build it out as quickly as possible.
They would have to come
Right, absolutely.
for regular approvals for anything they're building. This is because of the requirement by the state for a certain, I sent you some of this paperwork, that they have to get a local site plan approval for treeing and stumping. If they were just cutting the trees and leaving the stumps, we wouldn't be doing it.
That's right.
How long is the clearing and stumping process? Like, how long do you anticipate for that to take?
I hadn't really put a time on it, but I'm gonna say probably a couple of weeks out there at the site. Time to get done, getting all the trees down, get the logs off, stumping them out.
Is the intent to find someone that wants the property and you'll build, or sell the property and have somebody else build?
No, Mike wants to build. We certainly want to build. So he's not just, I don't believe he's just offering the property. I can show you his marketing piece that he's put out there. I don't want to distribute it because I'm not sure if it's been generally distributed, but I can give you an idea what's, so I would guess that it is. Pass it around quickly. What Tom Hill was working in this and talking about an 80,000 square foot building on that one.
Yeah, we met with you 5-6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
To discuss the potential of a building there. And this was part of the process, was to clear the property. Sometimes people want to see it open before they look at how a building's gonna fit, when it's all forest. Not forest, but it is a lot in the industrial park.
So Jim, do you have a number?
For a bond, I don't yet, because I just got these drawings, so I can't really.
So do you feel we need to do a bond?
So,
Go ahead, Ned.
well, I was gonna say that it looks like, just what I'm hearing, it's maybe on spec or not, but the bottom line is that you will need a bond. I mean, I don't know how you not require a bond here, because it's not someone who's gonna construct right now, and you have some measures that, but you can make it subject to that and have a bond is determined by staff and approved by the commission. That can be sometimes, subsequent. So if Jim doesn't have the information to establish a bond, he can acquire it, and then you can approve it. You can still approve the site plan now, but make it subject to the a bond approval, which you can act on next month or the month after, It's fine.
Would that preclude us from getting started now?
No,
You could
no,
split
as long as Jim can do that administratively, as long as he's authorized by the commission. I mean, if the commission authorized him administratively to do that, then he can. And the commission can ratify his approval later if they want to.
So what you're saying is that we could figure out a bond in the next week or two. And
Yep.
then once the bond has been created.
Yeah, well, it's what I heard, I could, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if the commission so empowers Jim to set the bond and make that decision as part of accepting the site plan, that he can just set the bond and it doesn't have to go back before the commission again. He and I can just.
No, it would have to be ratified by this commission, but that would be fine. You could start your work.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they authorize Jim to approve the bond administratively, he can be a report back by him to the commission. And, that could be again, a condition. You could have your site plan approval with that condition. And I assume Jim outlined a couple of others that I heard. So
So I could put like a bond ratification on the agenda for next month.
that's fine too.
That works.
You don't need the ratification. He
Yeah,
said both things. He said you don't need the ratification. The first time he said you do.
So do we need a ratification? Yes or no, Ned?
No, it's up to the commission. If the commission wishes to authorize administrative approval of the bond, it's up to the commission. If the commission wants to have Jim Stewart approve it and allow the process to, the work to commence, so it won't hold up the work, then the commission Stewart can do it administratively, or it can be brought back he can establish a number and brought back to the commission, approve the next meeting, but meanwhile, the work can still commence as long as there's no objection from the commission.
I would recommend you just approve it and let Jim administratively.
That's easier. Yeah, I understand where you said.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound that complicated for somebody like of the level of Jim Stewart, frankly.
Well,
Well, we'll certainly, obviously gonna report back to you in any case, you know.
Right.
Of course, and you report back to the commission, let them know under the CEO reports or under correspondence, fine, the staff reports, sure.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
I do have another question though. You talked about 6.8 acres initially, but we're talking about 4 point, you're just clearing for
Right, the lot is
Or
6.8 acres total. We're only,
4.8?
we're only gonna be working on 4.8.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know people.
Mm.
Just do what you gotta do to add it to the motion.
So I'll say with the condition of Jim Stewart. Bond approval. Or bond.
Setting
and approving the
Yeah.
setting. You don't have anything else?
Nothing to add, thank you.
No.
Good.
Good, okay, all right, so. You guys, anything else? Good, all right, so then I'll accept the motion to approve the site plan for the clearing and stumping of 4.8 acres of land for the property located at 30 William Rado Drive, applicant for Gazy Building and Engineering Company, Inc. With the condition of Jim Stewart setting and approving the bond.
You might wanna say that the town, the public works director, is town engineer.
Public,
You know,
Jim Stewart, the person.
who knows?
the
Who
public
knows,
works.
the actor might come out of the grave.
Jim Stewart, town engineer.
Would it be approving the bond or just setting the bonding?
Setting it.
I'll determine it, set it, yeah.
Yeah, determining and setting Jim Stewart, the town engineer.
So moved.
Yeah.
All right, a second, Tommy. All in favor?
Okay.
Yes.
Hot.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good luck. Give me this back.
Good luck.
I'm just gonna take that because I'm gonna update it, submit the block, submit the block.
And I'll have one for the,
Yeah,
for the file.
I mean, you guys can keep it if you want, but I'm gonna have to.
How much different is it, the last one from that? A lot different?
I think he filled in some, like the logging area.
I was gonna say, we put the staging areas in and we added some additional vegetation and erosion control. One thing that I didn't get on there is that block that Jim has approved. You know, it was my misunderstanding.
All right, so why don't we jump into the cannabis?
Got to open up the hearing and
So open up the hearing at what time is it? 6:18? On Wednesday, March 15th.
they've got a presentation here that. Got to see about putting it on. That's now in.
So we're gonna start with our point. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Which is, and then. Go into that. So I was about that, I guess, do I share the screen?
Minimize. I run.
Sorry. Yeah. What guns do you use? What guns do you use?
We're gonna move it.
Yeah, can you- Yeah.
Grab on.
I couldn't. I should have put it. No. And then.
Yeah, and we also have a Marcy. Yes,
So he'll jump in at a certain.
so when Anthony's ready, he'll just have to unmute himself and then talk. All right, so let me minimize.
Sounds good. Thank you.
My name is Gary Patch. I'm with the law firm of Family, and I'm here on behalf of Toronto Holdings, C, in its subsidiary, KB2. In connection with this special permit application to operate a cannabis hybrid retailer use at 585 South Main Street. At the last meeting, I went into the background of Verano, so I'm not going to go into it extensively. I know there are some people here for the first time, so I just wanted to touch on a couple of points. That Verano is one of the largest cannabis operators in the country. It operates in 14 states. It has facilities comprising over 1 million square feet of cultivation capacity, and it operates 121 dispensaries. And I just note that because they are very experienced and good at what they do, and this is not the type of thing we want a first-time operator to be getting into. As I said, Verano will own and operate the proposed cannabis hybrid retailer through its subsidiary, Care Nature JV2 LLC, under its retail brand, Zenleaf. So you'll see on the sign Zenleaf on the building. Care Nature EJV2 LLC has already received its licensure from the state of Connecticut, which occurred pretty quickly, to operate a cannabis hybrid retailer facility in the state of Connecticut. So that part of the equation is then.
Tell me when to move ahead.
Yeah, move ahead. One more. Okay, and just to orient you, I think you all know where this place is, going up Route 63. It's on the right-hand side, just before you get to the cemetery. And, it's been formerly used as a restaurant. I mean, I remember when it was the Christopher Columbus Strip Club. And then subsequent to that, there are a number of bars and restaurants there. So what we want to do next slide is essentially take the facility, update it, beautify it, do a complete facelift of the building, install new landscaping, no heavy site work, but definitely remark the parking because the flow there was a mess. And landscaping, right now there isn't any. New roof. And you can see here, this is the existing condition of the property now, which is not very good. And that's, again, it needs, it's old, it needs an update. And that's what our client intends to provide. This is a rendering of what our client under the name of Zenleaf will do at the site. Obviously, the vegetation may be a little different. This was an artist rendering of the facility, but the plan is not to change the footprint or reconstruct it, do a complete facelift of the building. And as I said, landscaping, security cameras, position lighting. This is just that building is actually in pretty good shape, but this is one of the facilities that they updated to the Zenleaf brand. Next slide. So again, just procedurally, in February 6th, actually, the zoning commission had approved and it became effective on February 6th regulations permitting cannabis establishments, including cannabis hybrid retailers. In the New Haven Road Design District. February 15th, your commission received our application. And since that, we went to the police commission that reviewed and approved it for their particular concerns. On March 1st, we received a favorable report from Inland Wetlands. And March 6th, the application was reviewed and approved by the fire commission. And then finally, on March 6th, the planning commission, considered the application and sent a positive referral to you, confirming the application adhered to the plan of conservation and development and was in harmony with the district. Next slide. So, and I'll touch on this briefly, but the things you obviously are going to consider in any special permit is, harmony with development, traffic circulation, impact on the environment. These are things listed in your regulations. Right. And, so we try to address these. I mean, the good thing here is that under the plan of conservation and development, this area is geared towards a mixed use commercial, and it is commercial, retail, restaurant, automotive, and some residential. And so it's consistent with the existing area under the plan of conservation too. There was an emphasis on promoting economic development. And again, this is the intent here, to have a very solid retail establishment that employs 40 to 50 full-time and part-time employees, and adds to the tax base considerably. And not only in real personal property taxes, but the extra 3% tax that you're due on the revenues. So we also, because this is it's not a new building, we're not building in any wetlands, we're not creating a new project here. It's an adaptive reuse. So again, for these reasons, it's consistent with what, and in harmony with the district. Next slide. And traffic circulation. Isaiah Brown, the senior engineer at Langen, will talk about this, but and this is, I have to say, it's very helpful there. The traffic circulation there was poor. The parking spaces were reconfigured badly. So we have a plan which Isaiah will talk about, which redoes the circulation, provides wider space to travel between the parking places. And so that we believe that the traffic circulation at the property is greatly improved. Next slide. Impact on the environment. This one was easy. We're not filling in any wetlands. We're not cutting down trees. It's an adaptive reuse of an existing property. So there's no increase development impacts from this adaptive reuse. And in fact, in terms of the actual operation, it's fairly low utility generator, certainly not like an industrial use that would have, or even a large retail operation would have a higher impact use. And again, we plan on adding trees and shrubbery, which all have positive impacts on the environment. Okay, next slide. So now we've talked about the general special permit objectives. Wanted just to discuss some of the special use standards that are now required under section 44A of the zoning regulations. And you know, the main ones, there are a number, but some of them apply to producers of different types of cannabis establishments. Ours is, these are the ones that are, we believe are salient to and hybrid cannabis operation. And section 44A, point 3A, you know, no structure may be used as a cannabis retail establishment unless you have the special permit and you have a license from the state of Connecticut. As I indicated previously, we have received that license, so and so that's good news. And then you know, in terms of the refuse, again, we'll go through our security plan, but the interesting thing, this is gonna be a very low a trash generator, because any cannabis or any product, and the seal is open, if for some reason it's returned or it's not used, it has to be sent back to the producer, cultivator of the product. So literally, you know, you just can't throw it out in the garbage. By, you know, by policy and law, it goes back to the people that they purchase it from, the producer or the cultivator. So that's their only product. And as you'll hear, none of it is in display. It's all in the vault. I mean, what you see in the displays are just empty boxes. So, so we think that this is a net plus in terms of refuge generation. Again, no cannabis establishment shall be within 500 feet of another cannabis establishment. I think this is the first application, so I believe that will be the case. And you know, we've done our radius diagrams, and the cannabis establishment is not within 500 feet of property line of any borough-owned school, playground or park. So, and then the final standard here is 44A.5. And it really establishes the hours of operation, 9 to 9, Monday through Friday, and 10 to 6 p.m. On Sunday. Those are the hours that, you know, my client's going to abide by and operate its facility. All right. Next. And again, you can skip this. I already just went through the answers to the questions. Again, here's, I don't think you can see it on there. It is now, Chris. We had done a radius drawing, but the red, as you can see, yeah, it goes like this, and to the side of the river. It, is 500 feet, and there was no parks or playgrounds or other cannabis establishments noted there. Next slide. Okay, and again, another special use standard was that the sign can't be any larger than 30 square feet. Ours is standard around 5 by 5, 25 square feet. Next. Okay, and so at this point, I know that security is very important to all of you. So you could listen to me, but I'm not the expert on this. So what I'd like to do is turn over the presentation via Zoom to Anthony Marsica, who's the executive vice president of Verano, and with vast experience with this. And when he doesn't answer any questions, we have Mark Zinski here, who a former senior DEA officer who is now senior manager of security for Verano. So I'm not technologically.
I see Anthony on my screen. You don't, because I have that up there, but Anthony can go ahead and talk.
Okay, great.
Thank you, guys. Are you able to hear me okay?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, yes, I hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks for taking the time to consider our application. As earlier mentioned, security is a high priority for us. We are governed by the Department of Consumer Protection. All cannabis dispensaries in the state of Connecticut must implement security measures provided by state law. We meet or exceed all of those. Security is paramount for the way that we operate. And we've developed a number of different protocols that check each other out and to make sure that not only that we meet these, but we're exceeding these in most cases. We have a multi-step approach to security. We have a comprehensive surveillance and alarm system, customer flow protocols to make sure that there are only a certain amount of people on the sales floor and they can be managed by the employees at the store. Our point of sale and inventory management. All of our inventory is tracked through a seed to sale program, which coincides with the State Department system. So they're able to view in on our inventory. Products are transferred through Manifest virtually, and virtually once inventory enters our system, the only way it leaves our inventory is through a sale. And then our cannabis disposal plan, which Gary mentioned briefly, but pretty much there is no disposal of cannabis on site. You can go to the next slide. Security program and surveillance. So our surveillance system is state of the art. We maintain a comprehensive 24-hour, 7-day-a-week camera surveillance system that covers both the interior and exterior of the property. Virtually every square inch of our dispensary is camera surveilled with the exception of the restrooms. We have to maintain cloud and battery backup, which exceeds state law requirements. We're also installing a generator on site in the event of power outages. We have battery backup that will cover around 8 hours, but the generator will kick in much quicker than that anyways. We also use a number of different pieces of security, like silent alarm system for our employees in the case of an emergency, motion detectors, glass break sensors, and panic buttons. These all help with security after hours when there isn't staff on site. Next slide. Customer flow protocol. So I'm not sure if anyone's ever visited a dispensary, but when a customer greets or enters our facility, they're going to enter into the public access area. That's the doors you first walk in, and immediately they'll be greeted by one of our reception staff. This is going to be a hybrid location, so we're going to be seeing both medical and adult use customers. So at that point, they would be credentialed. So you're going to, if you're a medical customer, need your medical card and a state or federal issued ID. If you're an adult use customer, just a state or federal issued ID. We use a third-party scanner to help our staff identify and verify that the IDs that they're given are, one, valid, and two, that the folks entering are of age to enter a dispensary. We put very strict operating procedures in place to ensure security and compliance protocols are met. And as mentioned earlier, we get regular audits of all of these procedures by the Department of Consumer Protection. So we're reviewing all of these today. We're going to go through a robust approval process prior to opening. And then once we are open, we are regularly audited. We get surprise visits all the time to make sure that all of these are held up to the standards. Next slide. I spoke a little bit about our point of sale and inventory management. So we have to maintain an industry standard vault room. They actually just updated the standards to make vault room requirements even more secure. So these are in accordance with the law that the Department of Consumer Protection is overseeing. All of the cannabis product is stored in our vault room. So you may, hopefully once we're open, you guys come to visit and you may see some packaging that looks like product. This is all just dummy product marketing material. There's no live product on the sales floor. Everything is going to be in the restricted access area. We also maintain a required inventory management system. And I spoke about this earlier as well. This is lockstep with the state system. So it has to interface. It has an API integration. All of the transactions are tracked and all of the transactions are kept from seed to sale. So all the way from a cultivation center when product is delivered from a state licensed facility into our facility through the sale process. Next slide. cannabis disposal plan. I mentioned it earlier and Gary did as well, but I'll just reiterate, no cannabis waste is disposed of or destroyed at our facility. If there is a recall, if a product is damaged, if one of the tamper-proof seals is tampered with, or if product expires, there's a protocol in place where we basically do a reverse delivery. So when cultivators come to deliver product, they would pick up any of these sorts of products. We would let the state know that that's going on so that they would have to remove the inventory on the back end. Next slide. That's like those are the basics of security. And something else I wanted to touch on that's really important to us, which isn't in here, is community. So we view this as a partnership. We understand that, you know, special uses are a privilege, not a right, even though that we meet the standards. And, you know, prior to opening, we will review this with local PD to see if they have any recommendations. And if we are granted the approval, we love to have local officials out to see our facility prior to us opening and obviously the grand opening. And then if there's any initiatives moving forward, we're very, very active in the community for all sorts of different things in the communities we operate. We operate in 14 states nationwide, over 120 dispensaries active. So this is really a big part of who we are. So that's something ongoing for us. Site plan review. You can go to the next slide. I think that's it. Yeah, so if there's any questions, we're happy to answer those, obviously. And again, thank you for the time to review our application.
Thank you. So at this point, I'd like to bring up our engineer.
Can I ask a question to Anthony
Sure.
while he's still
Yeah,
on?
sure.
Are there any dispensaries in Connecticut? I know they're in 14.
Yes. Yeah, so we have two currently in Connecticut, one in Meriden and one in Waterbury. So this is an EJV license connected with the Waterbury dispensary. So the way that Connecticut state is laid out with the new social equity dispensaries is existing licenses have the ability to partner with a social equity applicant, which we have, who's a Connecticut resident, to open 2 additional stores. So this would be in connection with the Waterbury, or it would be tied to the Waterbury dispensary.
Thank you. One other question, in your
Yep.
experience in doing this work throughout different states, like, what are your reports in terms of crime? Like, we were talking about security, like, you know, attempts of robbery or whatever, breach
Sure.
of vaults.
Sure. So, great question. And overwhelmingly, I think from a community standpoint, time and time again, we get support from police chiefs where they say that this is a non-issue. We get significantly less calls than a typical retail business. Issues that we have had in the past where someone has tried to break in. We've had a couple of instances, and I've been in the business since 2014 when our company started, where someone tried to break in after hours. There are so many different access control points where, you know, if someone makes it through the front door with glass, our alarms kick in, it's very difficult to get through all these access points. Never has our vault been breached. Never have we had products stolen from one of our facilities. So if it happens, it's very quickly, we've seen on camera where an attempted robber gets very discouraged quickly and usually drives off because they really just can't get anywhere.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I have several questions, but I'll wait until you're finished with the presentation.
So, I know that a lot of this is based on what the site plan is, so I wanted, Isaiah to come up here and, just run through, you know, the parking plan, the lighting plan, the landscaping plan.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, so, hi guys, my name is Isaiah Brown. I'm a civil engineer with Langen Engineering and Environmental Services. And yeah, we're the civil engineers on this project and help kind of bring these documents together. So I guess we're just going plan by plan, walk through each one. So this is our cover sheet, nothing special here, so I think we could probably move forward. This is our existing survey, so I guess just to kind of reiterate some of the stuff Gary mentioned. The site is pretty much occupied by the old restaurant that's still there today, 585 Main Bar and Grill. There's a couple other buildings on the property and a cell tower there as well. So I think those buildings are kind of accessory to that cell tower. There's a couple storage containers on the property that are being proposed to be removed. And in general, the site is mostly impervious. There's no interior landscaping, and that's an existing nonconformity as of today that we're trying to bring to be in conformity. And that's pretty much it. The existing site lighting today, there's, I believe, 3 poles on the perimeter of the property with pole mounted lighting, and there's also, I believe, existing building mounted lighting on the current building. But obviously, if that's not being used, it's probably not on. So that's pretty much the existing condition of the site. These are our standard notes. Yeah. So this is our proposed site plan. So I'd say the biggest change as compared to the existing condition is probably the parking layout. If you look at the survey today, a lot of the parking spaces are actually non-conforming. So in the parking table, they might say 53 parking spaces, but in reality, I'd say probably at least a quarter of those are either too short or too thin or some combination of that. Also, a lot of the existing drive aisles are also a little too thin compared to your standards. So we did the best job we could to bring this into conforming sizes, so 9 by 20 stalls. Tried to improve the circulation. I believe today it's a kind of a wonky one-way in and out. So trying to make it 2-way circulation throughout the site. We also added, a loading area in the back for all deliveries, and we ran a truck movement to make sure that a typical box truck could get back in there and also get to the dumpster. We also, like I mentioned before, added interior landscaping islands to get to the 10% minimum interior landscaping requirement. We also are proposing trees along the frontage, which I believe is also a landscaping requirement for your regulations. So that's pretty much the extent of that. I guess to touch on, existing drainage, everything today kind of sheet flows to the south without really any measures. We're at least adding landscaping, providing a little more better stormwater quality and then kind of slow that runoff. This is the truck figure that I was mentioning before. You can see here that an SU-30 truck can come in, go around, drop off anything they need to drop off, and then kind of back out and get in there. And we could, I believe a dump truck, so it could also kind of, not a truck, garbage truck, and pick up the kind of the dumpster area there. So that was kind of run. This is our plan. This is our grading and drainage plan. Like I said, there's only going to be minimal grading for the site. Reason being is in front of the building, we're adding a sidewalk for people to kind of get into the building. That comes with it. ADA ramps, ADA spaces, just making sure that's all compliant. Something I forgot to mention in the site plan is we are proposing a new sidewalk along the frontage of the property along South Main Street. That was a request by the Naugatuck Engineering Department. But that's going to have to be reviewed by the Connecticut DOT and approved through their encroachment permit process. But we are showing that on our plans at this time. That might require some shifting of the existing guardrail, coordinating with the DOT, all that type of stuff. But that's also kind of in our plans. But for grading and drainage, it's pretty minimal. This is our soil erosion and sediment control plan. Same thing, very kind of boilerplate stuff, silt fence along the back of the disturbance, but we're not really doing any major earthwork here, not a lot of trenching or anything of that nature. So really just trying to keep the disturbance on site kind of with minimal controls. This is our proposed lighting plan. So basically the goal here is to mimic the existing conditions today. So we plan to keep the existing lights around the property. So there's, I believe, 2 poles along South Main Street that have existing pole mounted fixtures. And then there's another 2 pole mounted fixtures attached to a pole closer to the cell tower on, I guess, the left of the page. So we plan to keep those and keep those in their existing conditions. Then on top of that, we plan to add building mounted lighting around the building. You can see there on the plan, the rectangles are the proposed lights. And then there's also security cameras, as mentioned previously. So yeah, the goal is to kind of keep existing light levels as kind of what they are today. And then this is our proposed landscaping plan. All these trees are native species to New England. The interior site is primarily focused on having a variety of shade trees. And I believe the tree count is in conformance with the required amount. They're also adding, like I mentioned, ornamental trees along the frontage. I believe there's a regulation for a number of trees in the front landscaped area, so we're including that. And then there's also some ornamental grasses that we're showing, kind of, in that hash kind of in front of the building. One thing I also forgot to mention in site plan, we are keeping the proposed covered storage area, so that's like, let's say, yeah, right over there, thank you, Ed. We are keeping that. I know there's been comments about shifting trees around that area to kind of make all that work. So we might adjust a few of those, but in general, we're keeping that, people can still park underneath that covered area. I believe that's the last page. Yep, and then these are architectural plans that were submitted by the architect, so. Yeah, so there's no, I guess, other site related points, so if anyone has any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer any of those.
Wait, once you're done, if you're done, I have questions.
Yeah, I mean, just want to thank you for your consideration. What I'd ask, is because of the kind of, as I said, it's heavily regulated. And the state has very specific requirements, and one of which is that the licensed operator be named. So in this case, it's the Verano subsidiary, Curing Nature, EJV2 LLC. So that we appreciate it and request it in the resolution, refer to the operator, and hopefully the approval. If that happens, and that will satisfy our brothers up at the state. So we're here to answer any questions you have right now. Thank you.
So just a quick thing. I just want to say for people that are on Zoom that would like to make a public comment, you will be able to, you'll raise your hand and then we will call on you to be able to speak at that point. And then it's up to you, Rick, if you want to have the public first and then Mr. Public. Yeah.
Yep, I'm good. Eileen?
I have several questions and they're not in any order. Question on the Zenleaf logo. I saw in other pictures that you just, but I see in this, it's Zenleaf dispensary. Is there a reason that you're adding the dispensary? And I know a lot of the other retailers hybrid, because you're hybrid now and not medical.
Right. Anthony, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, as far as signage goes, I mean, it's pretty in line with our brand. We've done it both ways where we have just Zenleaf or Zenleaf dispensary. I think it may have to do with the size signage, and our design team came up with that for symmetry. I mean, we're open to it either way. Obviously, we'll have to go through a signage permit process. I'm not sure if there's any restrictions on this verbiage of dispensary. I don't think we saw any, otherwise we wouldn't have included those. So yeah, it just comes down to our design team, but we do it both ways.
Okay, thank you. Are you using any growers that are currently, I don't know, are there any in Connecticut yet, or all the growers are outside of Connecticut right now?
No, so all product that is sold in the state of Connecticut, because of federal guidelines, everything has to be grown and processed in the state of Connecticut. So nothing can cross state lines. So there's several cultivators and processors in the state of Connecticut. Our parent company, Verano, is one of the largest wholesalers in Connecticut. So I know in some instances in states when they flip from medicinal to recreational, there's worries of product shortages, things like that. That will definitely not happen with us. And we really haven't seen that in Connecticut. The rollout of the adult use program has been really, really great. Our Meriden store was open on day one. We had the deputy governor there. It's been really great and it hasn't been overwhelming like we've seen in some other states. I know the Massachusetts rollout was very, very rough. I could say they didn't do a great job there. New Jersey was also pretty overwhelming as well, but that came down to the sheer number of stores in the state that were open. Again, I think Connecticut's done a really good job. But yeah, all product has to be grown and processed by a state licensed Connecticut facility.
And where is that now? Toronto,
Rocky Hill.
thank you.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Rocky Hill is where it's at.
Thank you.
It's a former CT farm.
And the reason for the outside, keeping that tent is simply for parking, so people have a covered parking?
Yes, the covered parking one, it has to do with the roof line. It doesn't seem like much to take it down, but the way the roof line is, what our architects and design team thought it really is a lot more robust than what originally was thought. We also have to get landlord approval on this. We don't own the building, so that's a whole nother set of issues. But the way we're viewing it is there's not really an issue with it being covered. It's still going to have camera surveillance. It's open on all sides, so there's really not a huge risk there in our eyes.
Okay,
I will say, Eileen, when Jim, Lori and I went out there and walked the site, that covered area, the beams, I believe they were steel metal beams that go down into the parking lot. They're just not wood. And so it was a steel structure. So it is
I didn't realize that. I thought it was an easy removal.
yeah, I thought it was just a canopy. And then I looked, I'm like, wow, this is pretty heavy duty cardboard.
Yeah, we kind of are under the same impression, yeah. And architects dug into it. It'd be a pretty heavy lift.
And all people coming will need an appointment, or people can walk in? You have to have an appointment?
No, yeah, it's no, not appointments. And we have the ability to go to an appointment only process. We've done that again in other states where we've seen an overwhelming amount of customers. We don't like to see any queuing outside of the store or large amount of queuing inside the store. But we're really just not seeing that in the state of Connecticut. First couple of days that the adult use program was open, we're busy, but again, nothing like we've seen in some of the other states that have flipped. So there's really not a need for it. So walk in anytime. You just need to have the proper credentials before entering our facility.
You mentioned that there's only so many people that can be on the floor at the time. So you don't expect it's going to be an issue. If there's a lot of people, you will take action?
Yeah, we staff up. So and our dispensaries pretty much follow traditional retail. So, Friday at 5 o'clock is our busiest times, and the retail customer follows pretty consistent patterns, believe it or not, and cannabis dispensaries are no different. So we staff up at those peak times. Black Friday is a busy day, just like any other retailer. You see the specials in the cannabis market. It's pretty interesting. There are a couple so-called quote unquote cannabis holidays. April 20th, July 10th are both cannabis holidays. So the same thing. We staff up on those days and again, we have a lot of experience with dealing with those types of situations.
Okay, and on the right side of the property, I don't know if it's a driveway, just a pathway. Can you speak to that, or what you're gonna use it for, or do anything with that?
Do we want to have Isaiah?
North of the building.
Yes,
Yeah, that's just a paved, kind of access way that's there today, and we're proposing to maintain that same passway. The parking lot's redesigned for someone not to keep doing that and using that way, but it's kind of more of an emergency egress type area.
so will it be marked, blocked off, or
No,
be
it
used?
would be maintained as it is today.
Okay, and I just don't remember that. Is there a fence on that side? What is between the two properties?
There's a common driveway here. There's some, oh, property here in the house.
Right, I know there's a house, I'm just
Keep that
wondering,
open.
so it's open,
Yeah, the.
driveway to driveway. or
The
open?
residence on the right side has a passway right to, use that, and they park their cars. So it'll remain.
Okay. And, you're open to landscaping changes, yes? Okay. I think that's all I have for now.
Donnie? Yeah, well. So you're not gonna block that off, you're gonna, people are gonna drive around the building. When they come in there, they're not gonna. Back up and. Well, I think. The signage and the parking roll over this way, so there'd be no reason for them to go back there. I mean, I used to go to it that time, that's the way I grew up. I mean. Well, look, we can certainly put a signage, directing them the other way, because it's not gonna get them anywhere other than to the back of the building. And as I said, we need to keep that open because it's being used for the common driveway.
They're also opening up the parking where they're moving it forward to the building more, so that right now. It's only one car can go through, where they're making it now 2 cars can go through, so it'll be more looking. So if you look at the traffic pattern, you'll see that there's 2 arrows.
Right.
Yeah, another thing, the building's secure and all that stuff. But if anybody's gonna rob that, they're gonna rob the truck in the back of the building. That's very, you can't see what's going on back there. Would there be anything that you guys would take in consideration for that? Because that'd be a perfect place. You got them cell towers, you got everything like that back there. I mean, it's. Well, the deterrence is all the security cameras and the lighting and the experience that these folks have in doing it.
Plus in our deliveries are really Monday through Friday,
Mhm.
9 to 3, during the business day. We don't deliver typically on weekends,
I mean, if somebody come out, like a guard come out and
They,
watch the
yeah,
guy.
usually there'll be, someone from security that'll help us obviously unload the vans. They're nondescript vans. I mean, there's no names on them, for state regulation too, so.
Mhm.
In 8 years of delivering in Connecticut, I shouldn't say this, okay, I don't wanna jinx it.
Yeah,
But we've
Don't
had
say
no incidents at that juncture.
Yeah. but you don't have a spot like that. That place is.
No, there's some, there's about 20 dispensaries in Connecticut now.
Mhm.
And, yeah, there's some that are a little bit isolated, but again, you have security cameras and, there's.
I know, yeah. Cameras.
And they know, so and they know, like, we randomize the deliveries, but they know from a manifest that we fill out that goes to the state the day before. They know the time to expect us to, so they're kind of waiting for us. We get it in the building quickly and, we're out of there.
Mhm.
We don't hang around back there either, we load the product and into the door, then that's locked and somebody stays in the van and another, one of my personnel goes into the facility, so.
Sorry about that. I was having some issues with Zoom, but I think it's back working.
Sir, we just need your name.
Oh, yeah, I'm Mark Kaczynski.
Can you spell your last name?
Yeah,
So
AACZYNSKI.
Gotcha.
Common spell.
Yeah, and another thing is when you pull out onto Route 63, I mean, we did, car wash on the street. You can't make a left-hand turn going on there. It's impossible.
You go right.
Huh?
Okay, take a right turn.
No, you can't, you just can't. There's times you
It's
can't.
also a state road.
Huh?
It's also a state road
You're right.
that the state has the authority
The what?
for making that. That comes up to the state's responsibility. If they want,
Eric, can I say something?
They check it out.
Eric,
no, what I'm saying is if the state wanted it right turn only,
Uh-huh.
that would be up to them.
No, because we recommended it down in that car wash and this is.
We might have recommended it, but it was up to,
Okay, so that'll be thrown up to the state.
yeah.
And the state will check that out. All right. Check that out, let us see.
How long do you think something like this will take to get that finished?
Yeah.
Anthony,
Yeah.
What was the question? Sorry.
How long will it take to, from start to finish, to complete the construction and renovation?
Yeah, so this one has a bit more construction than typical. I would say around 16 weeks for construction. And then we're at the mercy of the state for final approval. So you could probably bake in another 2 to 4 weeks for that. We plan to have plans ready for submission in less than 4 weeks, assuming that we get the approval here tonight. So 5 to 6 months to open from the time of approval.
What else? The only thing I'd like to know is this a company owned by somebody in the United States?
Yeah, so the parent company Verano was founded out of Chicago. I was a part of the group that was with the first license. It is a joint venture, 50-50 joint venture with a Connecticut resident who qualifies for the social equity portion of the EJV license. So the way Connecticut laid out the groundwork for the new licenses to be thrown out, that was the criteria. So that individual had to meet certain criteria to be considered a social equity applicant. And then the idea was that person would pair with someone with an existing license holder who had expertise in the cannabis industry. But to answer your question, the parent company is a publicly traded company. It trades on the Canadian Securities Exchange. So there's shareholders at this point, but the company's headquartered in Chicago. We acquired the company CT Pharma and Caring Nature approximately a year and a half ago. So it's a Connecticut-based company that was acquired by a Chicago headquartered company.
That's about all I got. My main concern though is going out onto Route 63. Like I said, because it's very hard.
Carl Herb.
Francis?
Yeah, I do have a question for Anthony. Anthony, you mentioned in your piece of the presentation that transactions are being tracked. Can you talk a little bit about that with people having concerns about privacy and what information exactly is being tracked besides?
Yeah, so medical transactions are tracked. There's limits as to how much a customer can purchase. The recreational customer information is not tracked to an individual identity. So what happens is when you check a customer in, they're given a random customer number. But what is tracked is the limits at the point of transaction. So no information will be retained for an adult use customer. For medical customers, it is maintained.
Satisfied with that, thank you.
Anything else, commissioners?
No, sir. All right, so let's open it up to the,
You want to open it up to the room
yeah, go ahead.
first?
Yeah, sure.
My name's Seth Fritsch. My wife and I are the owners of 575 South Main. That's the property next door, the green building. I wanted to respond to one of the questions you had, the dotted line, they can't obstruct that. That's a legally deeded right of way that's been deeded to the property that we owned for the last 80 years, and it follows the property. So that needs to remain open because it's our only access to the building. There were a few things I wanted to bring up, like you guys mentioned. It's quite dangerous to pull out onto the road there. I would like to ask that the opening be widened. There's very little visibility to the left, and it's a main road. I think that could be alleviated. It might be difficult, but if that opening were wider, it'd be safer. There's going to be probably a considerable amount of traffic, and there's barely enough space in that driveway for two people to pull past each other. I didn't see the dimensions on the plan. They did hint at improving the opening, but I didn't see an increase in the dimensions, and that's really, it's just a numbers game. There's not enough room for two cars to safely pass, especially if one of them is a truck. The other thing we wanted to bring up that's an issue for us and the tenants who live there is the hours, which are capped by the state of Connecticut at 9 p.m. I'd like that to be written as a special permit if possible, because the state can change the law. I'd like it to stay on the town level, 9 p.m. Smell on the premises, because it's a
You can't.
retail location, that doesn't seem likely. That there will be a smell problem, but our property line is approximately 10 foot from the building. And the noise ordinance that Naugatuck has passed has been very helpful for us when it was a bar. We've had to go and we had some ground to stand on with that ordinance, and that was very helpful for us. We'd like something written about smell in the permit if possible, because then we have a ground to stand on. There is no smell ordinance. So if there is a problem coming from the building, if it's not dealt with in the zoning, we probably won't really have anything to say about it. And obviously, since we're only 10 feet from the building, that's a problem for us. Another one is on premises use. Again, apparently illegal in Connecticut. I don't know much about that. But I do know that laws change at the state level. I'd prefer that just be nixed straight off the bat, at zoning, or at least require some revisiting of it if the law is changing in Connecticut for some reason. And in answer to the point about the right of way and the security behind the building, the tenants brought up that they would be okay and I would be okay. We would still consider it open if that were some kind of gate entry, automated gate entry. If that security becomes necessary, we're okay with that. And that's all I had to say about it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just respond to a couple of those? Those were really good points, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
So one with the smell, if the commission decides to put anything in place, just as a precursor. So as mentioned, we really don't see any smell issues at the retail locations. Those are more common in cultivation processing facilities. We keep our vault on an independent HVAC system, more for humidity than smell, but we do use a carbon HEPA filtration system just to alleviate any smell. And it's more for the sales floor than noxious smells outside the facility. We can provide that spec, but if you want to add that as a condition that, we use a filtration system that would eliminate any noxious smells, we're happy to abide by that as a condition of the special use. The other point that was brought up that I wanted to bring, we can talk to the Lingham guys about widening. I'm sure, again, we run into a lot of issues with it being a state highway and having to go through the state for that. But that's something, would be open to if we can get that approved. We have to go through it with the sidewalk and the guardrail as well, I believe. So it's something that we can explore there.
Mhm.
We're happy to do that.
Mhm.
And then as far as no consumption, no loitering on site, that's super, super strict policy for us. So the expectation for us when someone purchases product is that they go to their cars and they go on their way. We have cameras on the exterior of the building. We do regular sweeps of the exterior of the building. And if we see any of that going on, we would remind everyone of the rules, which is something that we do inside of the store. And then if we did need some additional assistance, which we don't anticipate needing it, we'd contact the police. But again, there's no plans for us to open a consumption lounge. We don't operate any consumption lounges nationwide. So again, if that's something that the commission would want to put or council would want to put as part of the special use, we're happy with that as well. I would assume that if consumption lounges are allowed, that'd be another special use process if you guys ever adopted it, but nothing in the plans there for us.
Yeah. Anthony, I just add to that, the consumption lounges aren't permitted in the state of Connecticut.
No, sure, yeah, but I think his point, and I think something we see nationwide is there is this kind of natural progression of limited medical use, expanded medical use, adult use, and then some additional uses. So I understand the concern, and we want to be great neighbors and good stewards of the community. So again, if the council wanted to do anything like that and make that conditions of the special use or strictly prohibit no consumption on lounges on site, we're happy to abide by that ongoing as well.
And that's not a state regulation, no consumption on.
It is.
It is.
Oh, in case they change.
Yeah, I think
It is.
Yeah,
It
I think
is.
the residents' concern, and same thing with the hours of operation. We rarely operate outside of those hours. I think the only place we operate outside of those hours that are proposed, are in the state of Nevada in Las Vegas. So again, I think the neighbor's concern is if the state changes their rules, you know, there's no recourse for them. So putting these as part of the conditions of the special use, which I think they will be anyways, you know, we're happy to abide by those.
So we currently match the state regulations right now for hours of operation. If the state were to reduce hours, we would have to reduce hours also.
But if they
I think he's worried about
Correct.
expanding hours. I think it's
Increase
more with
the
them.
hours doesn't necessarily mean we have to increase.
Correct. Mhm.
All right, so let's open it up to
Right.
the public. Ed, how do you want to do it with the Zoom?
Yeah, there was someone over there. Did you want to speak on cannabis or are you
Yeah,
speaking for your store? Yeah, that's later.
Okay.
So, right now, if there's anybody on Zoom that would like to speak, just raise your hand or so we could recognize you and we will ask you to give your name and address for the record.
Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to comment? Okay. We have somebody?
Yes.
Okay, Bridget, you're gonna have to just unmute yourself. And just
Hi.
state your address.
Okay. Hi, I'm actually Andrea Lawler. This is my mom, Bridget Mariano.
She's asking the question for me.
I'm asking the question for my parents who live on the block. And they're just wanting to know about any possible like traffic light or police like presence to help with traffic if traffic becomes an issue.
So you need to state your
Okay.
address, please.
561 South Main Street. Can't hear anything.
Traffic light would be
We can't hear at all, sorry.
Can anyone else hear?
Ned, can you hear?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, but I have external speakers, so you gotta speak up.
So, the traffic, if there was a police presence necessary, there is in state regulations for up to 30 days from an opening of a store, I believe, where the town can recoup costs. And I believe we do have the ability to look at it's an ongoing issue to be able to do so.
Yes, we do. That's correct.
Part of the town ordinance, that would not be part of zoning. Everyone else?
Hard to hear you, Ed.
Could somebody repeat what he said? Because everybody else sounds okay.
Okay, so I'll try speaking up again. The police presence, the state of Connecticut has allowed for potentially the first 30 days of store operations for towns to provide police officers if necessary. It hasn't been anything that's been necessary in the state as of yet, from what we understand. Our town ordinance, though, will also, which is done by the Borough Board of Mayor and Burgesses, is also addressing that issue as for potentially how we would recoup any expenses for police officers to be at a facility. But there is right now, for the first 30 days, under state regs, for the town to have an officer there to help with traffic and the location. In regard to the traffic light requirement, that's a state road, so that would be up to the state of Connecticut to determine that. Okay?
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment?
Well, maybe to state, this is Jamazeski, 106 Woodbine Street, Naugatuck. Maybe they're gonna have to look at that. Because the lights are timed. My father's up at Glendale and I come out of Hazel Avenue all the time at odd times and whatnot. That's not a fun street to get out of. I don't know how people do it every day. But the lights are timed so you can actually get out of there. When you're adding a facility like this, which multiple towns may be going to, that could become a problem really quick. So rather than hold off on waiting for the state to do something, maybe they should get a heads up to begin with. Because Route 63, the most accidents happen there all the time. You know that.
Well, I'll only say
That's it.
this, I've run into this before in regard to state roads. The state will generally not act until after the towns do their approvals. It happened to us with Dunkin' Donuts on Bridge Street. Other times, same thing with the car wash, Sobeys. Is again, it was, the state doesn't generally look at it, DOT doesn't look at it till after it's been through us. And my only other comment would be is there has been a bar and a social club operating there for probably, in a restaurant for 50 to 60 years, at least. Okay,
There's another person.
and who else? Just, you can unmute and just state your name and address.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Danny Silva. I am the tenant of 575 South Main Street. You've already heard from my landlord, Seth Fitch. I just wanted to touch back on a few items that were mentioned prior. I do recollect the applicant stating things like maintaining, I guess, reasonable amount of people outside the place, residents and queuing. So I just want to touch back on that because I've had issues with the previous bar where I've had to chase people off my property. I had people parking on the property, and I had to go to my own lengths to have them removed. So I just want to reiterate what their plan was to, and I guess also maintain reasonable privacy because there was also, crowds of people that would hang out and just, our backyard and kitchen is quite open to view to the lot. So I just, again, just want to reiterate what kind of plan you guys would have to maintain reasonable privacy and what your queuing plan were to be in case that lines were to exceed outside the building.
Sure, good question. Yeah, so I mean, again, to reiterate, we have a very strict no loitering, no consumption on property rule. And that is, again, in line with the guidelines from the Department of Consumer Protection from the state of Connecticut. If it did become an issue and if there is an unruly customer or things like that, first off, they're not allowed back in our store. In rare cases, we've had to make that determination, but again, very, very rare. As far as if the customer flow got overwhelming, we do have the ability to go to an appointment only system. In those instances, recreational customers would have to make an appointment. We would still give priority to our medical customers, as we always do. The priority is always to medical patients who really need this product for qualifying conditions and ailments that they're dealing with. But we do have that ability. Based on what we've seen from our dispensaries in the state of Connecticut, we're not seeing any of that necessity for queuing outside. The good part about this property and what makes it attractive is the amount of parking it has and the square footage. So a lot of times where you see the customer flow back up is, let's just say there's a very small store with only 3 point of sales. That's the bottleneck in dispensaries, is the ability to work through customers at the peak times. So I think we're proposing something like 12 point of sales, which is, I mean, a lot. I think more than what's needed in this store, but even in the most peak times or, so some of these retail holidays, so to speak, we'll be able to turn through customers and really no concerns on my end.
Okay.
I think what also was mentioned, which was kind of quiet, Lee, that fell off, is state of Connecticut has given the ability for towns to have recourse against cannabis license holders. So in the event that there was a police presence needed on a regular basis, the town would be able to charge us for those resources. Again, this is It's something that we don't anticipate happening, and have never had happen at any of our facilities, but the town does have that ability and they can reconfirm that.
Okay. No, so I guess, I guess a minor thing, I guess with the plan, I noticed that there's an island on the corner of the driveway that you guys planned on putting trees there. Is that kind of, do you have more of a detailed plan? Is that for that? Would that prevent us from, I guess, viewing the front of the building, which would be preferred? We do have a 10-year-old that lives in the house, so that's when I kind of want to circle back to about reasonable privacy. You know, the location seems subtle enough, but at the same time, you know, we would like to minimize exposure to you know, younger people that live in the house, and we don't want to have to feel like we have to cover our windows, you know, and tell, you know, and say, don't look over there and whatnot. Not that it's an issue, it's just obviously it's a 10-year-old, you know.
No, absolutely. I understand the concern. I got kids myself, two young ones. Yeah, I mean, so just talking about the program, I mean, it's in our kind of companies, the way that we operate. First off, absolutely no marketing to underage people. If you look at the facades of this proposed building and the buildings that we've constructed throughout the country, very inconspicuous and kind of have you know, a nicer aesthetic. You know, we don't want to make this look like a head shop where there's flashing neon lights and pot leaves all over the place. That's not the intention here. We want to provide a high-end consumer experience. With respect to the tree placement, I think that was to be in accordance with the landscape requirements. If there is the potential to maybe have some additional trees put up that would help with your request, you know, maybe we can talk offline. We can get your information. I know from the landlord who's in person there, and maybe we can add a tree or two if that would be helpful.
I got you. I appreciate the time. And again, I just want to let the council know that none of my questions should take bias in any way. It's just more for my information.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to comment? Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? Okay, all right.
Could do non-medical customers order online?
Yes, they can. So we have an online ordering process. And it's not, I wouldn't say it online ordering, I would call it more online reservation. So given federal guidelines and also guidelines laid out by the state, the transaction cannot take place online. So what you can do is you can reserve product. It's going to ask you several personal questions to verify identity. And that product is stored in the vault until it's ready for pickup. So a customer is still going to have to come in to be credentialed. The transaction is going to take place in the store, not online. So there'd be 2 points where they'd be credentialed prior to getting their product out of the vault. Transaction would take place and they'd move on. So yes, recreational customers can make their online reservation, but I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. How about a drive-through?
No, not allowed by state regs.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
The purchasing must be done, from what I understand, only by a bank issued card, debit card, or cash or check. It cannot be placed on a regular MasterCard, Visa.
That's correct. And that's kind of the disconnect between state and federal law. I know there's questions around safe banking and what that is. For anyone who knows what that is, that's some pending legislation at the federal level. It's a misconception that our businesses are not allowed to be banked. We are banked in the state of Connecticut as well as other states. So we do have somewhere to deposit cash. There's not these huge stockpiles of cash sitting in the store. And to your point, there is the possibility to use a debit card, so PIN debit option to alleviate some of that cash, but regular cash pickups that are deposited in the bank by a third-party company.
All right, commissioners, do you have anything else? No. All right, then I'm going to close the.
No, I wouldn't close. I wouldn't close the hearing until you're really sure. And plus, I've got some stuff that I've
That's
got.
okay.
So in regard to the other commissions that that did talk, you know, that this went before, the police commission did review this and approved it on February 28th. Fire commission reviewed this and approved it on March 6th. Planning commission gave a positive referral, and what they wanted was a detailed exterior security plan. And these were their recommendations. Again, they gave it a positive referral with the following recommendations: an exterior lighting plan. And they wanted to address, there was a cubbyhole area in the back of the building, which I believe the cubbyhole area has been addressed.
There will be a camera in it.
These plans that you have, that you received in your packets were done after the planning meeting. So that's why some of these things are addressed already.
What do you mean by cubbyhole?
There was an area at the back. Door, recessed area that had a little wall in it. And they were just wondering, is that a place where someone could hide? And they have addressed to take it out. It was just part of the old structure back there. The exterior security plan, you have seen that if you look through your prints. They have that on your plan there, which shows all the cameras all around the building. I would say that Jim and I talked about the overhang area, that we wanted to see a security camera and lighting on the outside of that. We discussed that with you yesterday.
We agreed to that.
And I think I saw that in the plan that you made that change. Because we were afraid that if the security camera was under the overhang on the building, it wouldn't really get a good view out into the parking lot. So that was addressed. And the exterior lighting plan at the time, we really didn't have much to show what was going on. Now they've showed us, and you can go on Google Earth or Google Maps there and look at Street View. And there is 2 lights that are on the telephone poles that show into the parking area from New Haven Road. There are lights, as they've shown in the lighting plan, all around the building. And there are lights in the back by the cell phone tower that also show into the parking lot. So on that there. The only other one, let's see, Jim, in your engineering review, we talked about the potential of whether or not those 2 trees that were gonna be at.
Yeah, I'm fine.
carport
If they
area.
look at them when they plant them and adjust them accordingly.
Yeah, we just didn't know how they would fit. It looks like you made some adjustments on that too.
Where are you talking about?
So at the front of the carport area, on the landscaping plan, it shows 2 trees right there. And it just seemed like there's not much room with that canopy being there.
Right.
So we were actually a little confused as to whether or not the canopy was staying or not. And then when we found out that the canopy was staying, we were asking, well, if you look at that, how are those trees gonna be there? So they did address a little bit of that of moving it, and I said, well, again, you have security cameras there. You don't wanna have the trees block your security camera view.
Right.
Yeah.
On that, so
Right.
I think that has to be looked at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe they should be a little lower. You don't want to growing up the block.
Right. Mm-hmm.
State will come in and they finalize and approve all the camera angles, so they will be.
Inland wetlands, administrative report, and they send it in. And for WPCA, they're using the existing connection already to the sewer for the existing building. The other things I put on my review, again, they're keeping the building the same. In regard to parking, there's 40 spaces. We did discuss that multiple times previously with them, that now the parking area is all addressed in their specific boundary areas. If you were to go there right now, if you look at the existing plan, it kind of went over in the back into state of Connecticut land. And they're gonna throw an island in there to block that and things like that. They did where the dumpster, if you on Google Earth at the street view, you'll see there is a dumpster that's sitting outside. They have proposed a dumpster in that area with closure for that area there. The 2 metal storage containers are planned to be removed discussed, they are going to mark the area on the pavement for their delivery area. That meets state codes. And they're gonna restripe the parking lot, add landscaping inside the parking lot that we had discussed. And again, when we talked the parking lot with them, it was all about making it more easy for getting what we thought cars going around. That's why we discussed having the parking lot actually move closer to the building, the front parking. So now you can easily have two cars, or you can't do that right now, but you can have two cars according to the new plan that can go in front of the building there. Whereas before it was one way or one car. So that's possibly some of the reasons why people are going around the back of the building. All right, that's all I had. Oh, the sidewalk in front of the property. We did bring that up. Again, that's going into a lot of the state right of way. Lori, Jim and I were out there. There is maybe a foot to 9 inches to a foot. The guardrail can be moved back. There is a sidewalk that seems to end at the cemetery there. But something can be put there. They proposed something for that.
And then I calculated a bond at $35,640 for the set erosion controls, the landscaping and the sidewalk. I'm assuming that that's acceptable.
That's it, that's acceptable.
So we may just have to add a motion ourselves in that.
Okay. So bond for sidewalk, landscaping,
Yeah, landscaping and setting erosion controls.
Now, Rick, it's up to you guys.
Nick, you have anything?
No, I think I think it's been, Ed did a terrific job summarizing the ancillary reports. My only concerns was the access egress, and the police department addressed that. Police commission actually addressed that. The rest is it's an interior renovation and it's about the use. You guys, the commission has allowed the use under 44A. It is heavily regulated by the state. So I think that the only point I thought that aside from the bond was some mention of a couple of trees to help shield the neighbor. So that might be something you may want to add or address as a condition of any vote to approve. And you can vest that with either the land use office or the borough engineer.
Where would they,
The one point I'd make about that is we certainly will work with the owner on the other side, but we don't want to do anything that's gonna encumber their driveway, you know, it's really.
Right. Right. So it has to be consistent with it has to be consistent with the access and egress plan. It can't encumber that. But if it's something that can shield the neighbor and not encumber the access and egress, then it might be something that may be worth adding. That's why I think the borough engineer should be involved in the process.
yeah, they left, so we didn't get a chance to talk to them about it. And the fact is that
Sorry.
they need that space for their car. So whether, you know, because I thought about fence, but they can't have a fence because of the access they need.
It would have to
Bushes.
be partial because their access is coming back, so you can put it along if they chose. Here's the house,
Well,
there's the driveway, there's about 10 feet. It wouldn't be on their property, it would be on the tenant's, the landlord's property.
The neighbor's property.
The neighbors,
Yeah.
it would not be on their own property, there's no room.
Yeah,
because
if
it's the
if they
whole-
were,
You can't.
so that, you know, I'm sure it would be.
I believe that's what Anthony had said, he would talk offline to the owner.
I have his number, so.
I also think it's a lot better, less of a use than what's been there that they've dealt with for the last
yeah, they're gonna.
10 years.
From going to be a bar to this.
with
is
the outdoor
night and day.
stuff they've had going
All the
on.
issues they have.
Yeah.
The people that
Yeah,
were
it's gonna go away.
patronizing there and the
Yeah,
loudness and,
yeah, everybody drunk at 2
Mhm.
o'clock.
right. That's big. So, anyway. All right. What else? Neil?
Nothing.
Eileen?
We have conditions.
Oh,
Are
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
looking?
no,
to-
absolutely.
Well,
I
you
was gonna-
mentioned something about landscaping before?
Yeah, the ornamental grasses seem to me to be, you could hide a lot in the ornamental grasses. I would think that something, lower bushes, just smaller landscaping. Bushes.
Yeah, just for reference, I think, the ornamental grasses are only gonna be like this tall, it's not gonna be like tall grass or anything like that. So I guess it'd be kind of up to the property owner if they have any preferences on exactly like what type of plantings should be there, but are you concerned about like security or?
Well, going by the picture, it doesn't look very nice. With the grass is that high, grasses get very high.
Yeah,
And I don't think it's attractive to the building. Also, it could hide things
yeah,
in there. So I think smaller things,
If the commission wants ornamental bushes as opposed to grasses, that's something we certainly can do. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Bushes seem to be easier to sculpt or,
right, exactly.
Again, I think everything has to be low anyway because of all the security cameras.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then, the other concern is, just doing something on that side. I don't know what,
Well,
I mean, it looks like all the way down.
Yeah.
There's egress that can't be interrupted.
Well, what if we leave it to them to discuss it with the owner and have them come up with.
No,
You're talking about anything from fence to partial fence to
Well, I don't know.
bushes,
Yeah.
I think it's too wide open to have.
Hmm.
What's Ned saying?
well, I don't think you want to delegate, delegating to the neighbor next door. You can't do that. I think the best idea is to have the town engineer review it and subject his approval. I mean, if he thinks there's a method or remedy there, have him approve it. I mean, you can't leave it you can't delegate that to someone who's not the applicant or owns property.
And just from our standpoint, I mean, we'll obviously act in good faith and we want to be good neighbors. So we'll have that conversation. The issue I have is not our property. So to make it a condition of our special
Right.
use, something that's not our property would really potentially put us in a tough spot.
Yeah.
And then there was the other concern about widening that driveway to help with the traffic, the egress and
Can that be done?
I'm certainly you can widen it if you needed to. I think it's probably around 24 feet now, so I think it's probably wide enough. What's gonna happen is they're gonna need to get a state DOT permit for that sidewalk and the entrance and everything, and at that point, the state is gonna look at it and want to see the turning movements that they've supplied. And they will at that point say yes or no, or this, or you need a signal. I highly doubt that would ever happen. I mean, you would need a shopping plaza, Walmart sort of thing. They don't want to see signals. The last thing you want to see, even if you wanted one, they wouldn't probably allow it. As Ed said, I would let the state review it and determine what's necessary as far as that goes. What is your average customer count? What do you propose? What do you think your customer count per day is going to be?
Gary, do you have the traffic report handy? I just want to reference that and then I can go into what we're seeing at other
I
stores.
do have a summary here, Anthony,
I think
they're
what about
generate 44 to 78 vehicular trips during the respective weekday, morning and afternoon peak hours. Those are the peak hours. So,
did you say 44?
44, between 44 and 78 trips during that's the weekday, morning and afternoon peak hours. from our traffic report summary that I'm looking at.
But that says what, people going in and out?
Yeah, correct. So when when traffic reports are done, remember it's trip generation. So when it says 44 trips, that's one in
Yeah.
and one out. So that's 22 customers. And I'd say that that's very consistent with what we're seeing.
And the average visit is really small, right? 7 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we see a wide array of customers. So, you know, a first-time customer, someone who's never used cannabis, is going to take much more time than a repeat customer who has an online order. What we're typically seeing on average is 5 to 7 minutes for a customer. But I mean, someone with an online order who's been there several times before will be in and out in 2 or 3 minutes. Again, a first-time customer, or, you know, a first-time medical patient with a terrible qualifying condition may, you know, it's going to take some consultation. We're going to go through our product list. We're going to work on a regimen that we think is going to work best for them. And, you know, that may take 30 minutes, but as a point of average, you know, 5 to 7 minutes per customer.
Anything else? At this point?
I mean, I have, condition.
Yeah, let me close the,
Yeah, you're prepared to close the hearing.
Yeah,
No
okay.
testimony can be given now once you close
Right,
the hearing.
right.
That's what I mean. I don't know if you want to mention conditions first, they might be able to answer. Because they won't be able to answer if there's no public hearing. You know what I mean?
Sure. So,
no. Well, what were you gonna say, Ned?
Yeah, that's best practice to do it the way Ed said. The cases are, you know, the court's being a little bit more lenient on that because, you know, as long as someone's not deprived the opportunity to ask the applicant questions, it's okay. But I like the practice that Ed has pronounced. I agree with it. It's the best way to do it. But it's not fatal if someone comments afterwards. Not fatal anymore.
so are we okay with the detailed security and lighting? Are we gonna put that
No, I think-
conditions as per planning? Or we?
No, I think I'm good with what the state's regulating and what they're doing. Jim, are you?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's reasonable. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm expecting that you may have to move some of those cameras around.
Right, I
a
think
little bit.
what's-
Just
right.
because they're shown right there doesn't mean. in my
Yeah, remember
opinion, they
When
can't be
planning
fixed.
got this, they didn't have a plan.
Oh,
That's
okay,
why.
okay,
So
Alright.
after
Right.
that meeting,
okay.
we got this.
Mhm.
That's good.
And remember, the state, before we can open, the state's going to inspect that location, obviously, and they're definitely gonna look at all the camera angles, and if they're not happy with what they see, of course, we move them accordingly.
Okay, so one is like landscaping that I already mentioned, having low ornamental bushes rather than the grasses. The filtration system to alleviate odor. The whitening and drying, we're not gonna do that, we'll leave that to the state. No consumption on premises, put that in.
Well, that's part
I
of
think
the
the
state.
consumption lounge, we talked
Right.
about the
Right.
consumption
Yeah.
lounge.
Is that what you're saying, the consumption?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
What was that, Ned?
yeah, no, that's not allowed. And that's not allowed in Connecticut.
So
not
we
allowed.
don't have to put that in our,
No.
We're talking about the consumption lounge.
no.
So I think what the.
I would
owner-
say no, but you know, you could, but you don't have to.
Well, the conversation was, is if the state changes it down the road,
Mhm.
it will be automatic.
Yeah.
So that's why we're gonna put it in.
Not necessarily, because you are a zoning commission and you have not allowed it and your regulation doesn't allow it. So because it's not allowed, it is deemed prohibited. So, I mean, if your plan is to make sure it doesn't happen, then you should state it as a condition.
I think, yeah.
State it.
Everything seems to be as a
the
right.
best way.
We should,
Yeah, well,
there's no harm to put it in.
no,
And, Also, I would like to have the logo to be the Zen leaf. You talked about it's, you have the either or. I saw it on the pictures you showed, and if you're willing to accept that. I would like-
Can we regulate? There's a lot of stuff that says what we can and cannot regulate for signage. So Ned, can we regulate exactly what's on their sign? I was always told through all my training with Casio that we can regulate size and location, but we cannot regulate verbiage. We cannot regulate.
Content regulation is been the subject of significant constitutional challenges everywhere. Mostly related to religious issues.
And I understand that, but and that's why I asked the question, because they use that logo in other places, so I asked that.
Isn't it?
So I'm not gonna read
Right, so
it.
my suggestion is that, and I think your approach is a good one, which is that we can ask the applicant to ask the applicant if the applicant will agree to your signage request.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with that, and, to the extent that the state doesn't amend its regulations and require us to use
Right.
it.
I understand.
Yeah, the interesting one here is just, again, the size. So I mean, in most situations, you know, we would have the potential to have multiple signs or, you know, potentially a larger sign based on the square footage of the building. So I think with it, I believe the area is 30 square feet. I think that's why our design team did it that way. I'd hate to put the restriction on there unless there's something egregious. I mean, you know, it's not like we have a sign saying weed sold here. I could see that, but I mean, dispensaries are going to be all over the state. I understand if there's a reservation there, I'd like to have that opportunity, but if it's make or break for our application, we'll omit it.
Is it kind of the same as Zen Leaf Dispensary? Is that your name, like Sullivan's Bar and Grill?
Exactly. So like our website is zenleafdispensaries.com. Our social media handles are Zen Leaf Dispensary. So I think fits in with our branding. But again, I mean, if it's make or break for our application, we'll omit it.
I saw in some of the paperwork that we got tonight, it said Zen Leaf Naugatuck. That's something that I just misread that in some paperwork in here. I had reference to Zen Leaf and then it had Naugatuck.
Yeah, so typically like on our online menus and on location maps, things like that, that's how we'll designate, because we'll have, the hope is to have 8 Zen Leafs in the state of Connecticut, based on our license caps. So that being said, that's just how we'll identify, you know, because customers who are in between or traveling may search Zen Leaf out, and it's our way of identifying the location.
I'm okay with the sign. I mean, what do you think?
I like the sign.
All right. Neil? Fine sign.
I'm fine with not conditioning it, as
Okay,
Ned
that's
said.
better.
I do think, I mean, for many people that in a long, you know, mental health and addiction services,
Yeah.
dispensary is not really a fun name.
Mhm.
So that's the premise I'm coming from. You know, there's a history of a negativity, and that's my thought. So I will not condition it. It's your business and your name, but
Take it into advisement. No, I understand.
maybe I'm just too old and they don't, you know, young people don't understand the oldness of that term, but,
That makes it go.
Anything else, Simon?
no.
Okay.
No,
Simon?
yeah, I just want to sidewalks. Is there some, by the state, is there a width that they gotta go by? 36 inches or? is it gonna
Well,
go-
it's, I mean, our preferred width is 5 feet. What I understand, 4 feet is acceptable. And that's the distance pretty much we measured. To the guardrail, I think that's gonna be about as wide as they're gonna be able to get without having to relocate telephone poles and put in retaining walls and relocate guardrails.
So you can get 5 feet to the guardrail.
Well,
No.
4 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Good. Works good.
And,
Works good.
but the guardrail is gonna have, you know, it has to stay because of the drop off behind it.
Right, okay.
So there will always be a guardrail there.
You ain't gonna go through the trouble of moving that.
Right.
But again,
Oh,
also,
no, they might move the guardrail.
Connecticut is gonna look at it and say, you know, it's gotta meet their requirements as well.
You might have to move the guardrails? If you did,
I don't think so, but I'm not gonna speak
Yeah, I
for the state. They have people that specialize in ADA and the guardrails and everything that goes along with them, so.
It's in the state right of way too, so.
no, my thinking is if you gotta move the guardrail, you gotta throw them away. And start over. Huh? Throw one of the new guardrails. You gonna move that same guardrails back?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Can you?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah, they'll take them apart and reinstall them, absolutely.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Jim, are they just gonna put the sidewalk in front of that place? That's it?
That's it. That's all you can,
all they have
all
to
you
do.
can ask for.
Well,
You gotta
I don't think it's a big point. I don't think it's a big point then, huh?
What's the point? I mean,
I think he's thinking, why put
Big
it
point
there
of
if it's
putting it,
just
yeah.
there?
Well, it's, oh, okay, the point is that there's a sidewalk at the other side, at
At the cemetery.
the cemetery, there's a sidewalk right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why. So, all right,
Okay, kind of makes sense now.
all right, then, if there's no other comments, I'm gonna, close the meeting. It is-
Just one reminder, if, as, just to include the name of the
Yeah.
operator, you have that? Okay.
Can you?
So what is it, Caring Nature? Is that an
EJV2
EJV2 LLC?
LLC, yeah. Thank you.
You'll put that at the place.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna, close the hearing for close the public hearing for the special permit application for the proposed cannabis retail establishment for the property located at 585 South Main Street, applicant Caring Nature EJV2 LLC. It is approximately 7:57 on Wednesday, March 15th. All right, so how do we want to write this up with the landscaping, the filter system to deal with the smell, and then the
And the
what was that?
landscaping.
Yeah, I had landscaping
And the
first.
bond.
Oh, I really got the bond.
So I think
Bond.
I would do a separate motion for the bond. Just to be simple. All right. For that. Or can we include it with the other? We could just put it at the.
Yeah,
end.
you can make it a condition. You can add it as a condition. And the bond has already been established. Was it 38,000? What was the bond?
35.
645, what is it?
35,640.
45 or?
Okay,
640?
yeah, no, that can add that as a condition. That's a bond. That's a condition, another condition. So,
So you would just write it, you know, we have one started, and then you would just.
Yeah,
With the
just-
following conditions there, right, you would write in some conditions.
Right.
Start with the landscaping
That's
one
right.
first.
Yeah. Yes.
So you put in your landscaping condition first. And I think it was just trying to write one up.
All right, so what do we want to say with the landscape?
We would, place ornamental shrubbery, as opposed to ornamental grasses were appropriate. I mean,
Place what?
Ornamental shrubbery. in place of ornamental grasses
Right. Oh, okay, I mean, that makes-
as appropriate.
You get point where it doesn't make any sense.
Ornamental grass is what?
Ornamental shrubbery in place of ornamental grasses as appropriate.
All right, so the landscaping, place ornamental shrubs instead of ornamental grass as appropriate, okay. Next,
And the next one was
filtration system,
Filtration?
okay. So how do we? So is it filtration system to deal with smell, or how do you want to say it?
Yeah, I mean, they only.
They already have a carbon, they already have a carbon HEPA filter system that I believe that the applicant indicated in his testimony. So perhaps they provide details of that carbon filter HEPA system to the land use office as a
So I-
condition.
condition that they provide a spec sheet for the
Right.
filter system, the indoor filtering system.
In the areas of storage of the
Right.
cannabis, yeah.
Make sure you specify indoor air filtration.
Indoor air
Correct.
filtration. So you can provide
In the
spec
areas
sheets
of
to us.
storage of the
Yeah.
cannabis.
Indoor air filtration system, provide a spec sheet. For the storage areas.
And install. You may want to put that in there too. That we won't just provide the spec sheet, we'll actually install it.
For the storage areas.
Yeah, put in install. Provide spec sheet and install.
All right, filtration system with the conditions, they provide a spec sheet for the indoor air filtration system storage area.
That is being installed.
In the indoor.
Here we go. Just saying.
Is that indoor?
Can't say it like that.
Okay,
Did we want to do anything with the consumption?
No consumption lounge on premises?
I would just, I wouldn't even say the word lounge, I would just say no consumption.
But that's.
well, that's.
No on premises consumption is permitted.
But that's already done by the state, though.
They're just saying if the
Right.
change, the state changes, the laws are covered by their.
All right, say that again.
No indoors.
No.
On premises consumption of any cannabis product.
I would say no.
Say what?
No on premises consumption of any cannabis product. On premises. Let me just say that.
You can't say that.
Don't say that.
If the state changes that and they allow for it, like consumption lounge, do they just come back for a special permit and then
No,
we can
no,
decide? It's-
we've already made, we don't have to. The states.
Okay.
So no on premise.
No, but but they could come back and ask you to change that part of your text to allow it. It gives them an opportunity to come back. It would be excluded, but everybody has the right to come back and ask for a modification of regulations. Okay.
Could come back and ask.
Okay. Yeah, they'd have to come back before you. Right. It's good.
And as Ned, I think you pointed out, it's not in the regulations right now. It's
But we
not
understand that we're
permitted.
talking about future.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. It's not in the regulations, right?
Was there another?
Yeah, the bond.
Oh,
And I can't remember, are we addressing anything with the neighbor? No.
No, I-
we can't.
I think
Okay.
Anthony said he would talk with the neighbor, they'd have another forum and they'll connect with them.
Okay. Yeah. So what do we want to say about the bond?
You wanna say, the applicant, shall post a bond. $85,640.
In the form.
Okay.
of-
Approved by the borough engineer, borough attorney.
The form approved, the amount, the scope approved by the borough engineer and the form approved by the borough attorney.
I was gonna make us say it again, we have no idea what we just said.
The applicant will post a bond for $35,640 approved by the borough attorney.
No, in a form.
In a form approved by the borough attorney.
Fine.
So the applicant
That's
will
good.
post a bond for $35,640 approved. Excuse me, the applicant will post a bond for $35,640 in the form approved by the borough attorney. Good. What else? Is there anything else we wanted to? What, so what's this? Okay, so it's what you, kind of shrubs are those in?
Ornamental.
Rather than
No.
ornamental.
I would. All right, we're good. That's fine. Take it easy. All right, I make a motion to the. I'll accept my motion to the special permit application for the cannabis retail medical sales establishment for the property located at 585 South Main Street, applicant Caring Nature EJV 2 LLC with the following conditions. One, the landscaping place ornamental shrubs instead of ornamental grass as appropriate. Two, the filtration system with conditions, they provide a spec sheet for the indoor air filtration system in storage area that is being installed. Three, no on-premise consumption of cannabis product. Four, the applicant will post a bond for $35,640 in a form approved by the borough attorney. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve against? Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Good work.
You're gonna be talking.
What'd you say?
Okay, gotta go.
Okay.
Waiting all night. Okay,
It is
Gary.
what it is.
every minute you're here, we're here.
I hear you.
So why don't we go to new business C?
All right, new business C, the commission discussion potential commercial business at 67 Rubber Avenue.
So I put this on the agenda because we've had, this is the location where Carmen's Barber Shop used to be, Z&A Insurance used to be, right by Cumberland Farms.
Yeah.
The gentleman that owns the property and his wife has come into me multiple times about potential businesses. They came before us once with a change and we had concerns about it. And I don't want to keep charging them, $75 every time they come in. So I'm hoping to, I said, maybe I'll have you come here, talk about possibly, and I did give you a sheet that they created here of some potential tenants that have talked to them about the location.
Can you tell me where that is again?
So it's right by, you're coming over Cumberland Farms. This is where, right opposite Rite Aid, the little storefront,
Oh, yeah.
right there. So I just thought it'd be easier to have them come here, talk to you, whatever, if we decide on something, they will have to come back. Probably for a change of use, but I'd rather not have them spend 10 change of uses at $75 each. and potentially do something, so. All right, so just
State
take
your name and address.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Farhana Hussain, and I'm on behalf of Store 333 LLC. And we already mentioned we want to change a business. There was a barber shop before. So now we the owner of that place. We want to do different kind of business there, a retailer store, or there's a pet grooming store, or grab and go kind of thing, like a little convenience store. We want to do this kind of business. And kind of the breakfast shop in the morning, early morning and close early. Something like that we try to do on that place.
So Alam, her husband, who works at the store, he had talked to me, like I said, he's been in various times. He's said, what about a bakery, a convenience store, a butcher shop? You know, potentially looking at a dry cleaner, takeout food business, a pet grooming store. So the thought was, of those type things, what do you think would be an appropriate use there? You know, when we came before, it was gonna be like a pizza restaurant. And one of the things we said is we just thought it would be too crowded for that type of business there with the lack of parking. But I thought some of these might be something that operates opposite of the things that are there already. So maybe wouldn't cause as big of an issue. So I'm just trying to give them some ideas of where to look for a tenant then.
Yeah.
Because, sorry to interrupt, because we own like whole lot, like 63, 65, and 67. So there's no problem, in my opinion, for the parking. People come and go, nobody wanna stay there too long.
Where is your parking?
It's like, street parking.
Oh, street parking.
So
Front.
they own the building next door,
Okay, was that the smoke
the
shop?
convenience smoke shop and the convenience store there,
Right.
and the restaurant.
That's the sushi place? Yeah,
Uh,
sushi place?
Yeah, it's another.
Yeah, there used to be Junior.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so
It's
that
right
was
by
straight.
the,
So they own those two, and they bought this building from Pete, who was the barber that was there.
So isn't there parking
That was gonna
behind the
say.
store?
Just for the little parking in the back of that building, 63, 65, but not at the 67.
Yeah,
The
but
67
It's a very tight
And that's your.
entrance in and out, and they do have 2 apartments upstairs for tenants for parking back there.
So you
So-
won't allow any parking?
I don't think their customers will be parking back
More
Okay.
than customers.
there. The employees might park back there, but people coming and going, it's, you've ever seen it, it's maybe 8, 9 feet wide. It's very tight.
Right.
In my opinion, it's the same as Maple Street, Maple Street Bakery, you
Yeah,
got the package, but the
that's-
whole thing is just as tight.
Yeah.
But
So-
we can't be supposed to not allow some type of a business.
With Rubber Avenue being redone there, Dick, we are looking at having specific parking now putting in there, parking spots. Too. Because that's all gonna be redone as part of Rubber Avenue.
how far are they gonna go down? Are they gonna go right by her?
Yeah, they're
place?
going all the way down to the event center,
Oh, they are.
and then up to
Redoing
where
that
the
whole-
roundabout
yeah,
would be.
Okay.
You know, so that's all gonna be redone.
Ed, are they taking property from Rite Aid to make it wider down there or what?
Do you want to take comments from the public?
Yeah, we can take it.
It's not a public.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we'll take it.
I don't know, it's up to Jim to tell us that.
Jim, tell us that.
Friday property to do the roundabout.
We're taking a small amount, to do the roundabout, yes. And a very small amount to relocate their, sign.
And Jim, will there be, when this is done, do you anticipate any parking spots across the street from this area, which would be on the Rite Aid side?
I'm actually looking at that now to see if I can find,
Because right now, there is no lines anywhere in that area on the road that deems it a parking spot. But you can fit in front of her other building, 2 to 3 cars generally fit there, and then there's at least 1 car that can park there. I do think, I mean, I used to go to Pete to get my hair cut, and a lot of times I parked in Rite Aid, you know, because you might have 4 people sitting in there. You know?
Which is fine
Yeah.
if they allow that.
Right.
And, you know,
Cumberland Farms, a lot of times people would park
Yes.
there, so I mean, we can't allow it saying, well, you could park, all these other places, so.
Right, I agree with that. We can't say that they're gonna be parking there. I'm just saying where people do.
Exactly, people always
tell
park
us,
up at the side there.
They fill up gas, they got the coffee and they come to us and they get out.
Right.
Yeah, they could always park on Church Street too.
So while Jim is looking a bit at that to see if there's gonna be
Not that
any
far.
specific parking in that
The
area.
pawn shop, we don't mind it.
There's parking behind the pawn shop.
Yes,
Big parking.
there's a lot of parking behind
Oh,
it.
that's, oh, yeah, that's. pretty
Yeah.
solid.
So the bakery, I would look at it being like the bakery over here. Where in and out, I'm okay with that being like a bakery where you're gonna go in, you're gonna get your stuff, come out, and it's gonna be constantly moving. I mean, it's gonna be a zoo just like it is over there,
Yeah,
but you gotta give them the capability to do something with it.
but I would say this, is that a bakery operates generally more in the morning than it does later in the day.
Yes.
Like, you go over there's no big line there at 12 noon. It might be there in the morning on Maple Street.
No,
with
it's,
that
it's, yeah,
bakery,
it's definitely in the morning, yeah.
and it might be on Sunday mornings that he.
Sunday and
But
Saturday.
I see people going in there just getting their coffee and, in a Danish or something like that on a regular morning. I don't see people going to the restaurant that's there first thing in the morning. That restaurant's not open then. And the convenience store generally doesn't seem to be that busy first thing in the morning. I don't even know if you're open then. I haven't seen you open until like 9 or 10 that they open. So a bakery act could be something that could work, because I would think that that's gonna be a 6 AM to 10 AM business more than anything.
What about the takeout? Are these
Takeout
lists of
driving
people that have contacted you with interest in your property?
Yeah.
This list, what type of
These are-
takeout?
These are the tenants, they wanna some kind of Subway sandwiches, ready or bagel, cream cheese, morning sandwiches, something like that. It's not too
Like
much
how to
like,
grab and go,
Yeah.
like they're pre-made and you just go, or like Subway, you gotta go and order it and.
no. Just they are ready and
Grab
grab
and
and
go.
go from there, from the shelf, what they want.
We had a similar one behind, where Terry's flower shop is. If you go in the back of that building, her mom used to have a shop like that where nothing was cooked on premises.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
all
yeah,
grab
yeah.
and go, coffees and pre-made food.
Okay.
I mean, there is gonna be a lot of walk-in people who, loaded go people, there are people that drive there, but there are a lot of people from downtown who work downtown, who walk in and out. So maybe they'll have that type of business there. But the takeout thing, we addressed that when they came about the pizza place.
Right. Right, I think the problem is the parking.
Yeah.
And approving something that we will know that will cause a parking problem isn't what we should do. The dry cleaner, we don't have any dry cleaners in town anymore. I never saw Beanie's constant cars. I think that's the least,
Traffic.
yeah. So I think something like that would not only serve the borough, because we don't have any dry cleaners now.
And
I mean, we can't pick and choose, because, we can only approve or not approve.
But we're just giving them ideas.
Yeah, so I think anything that's going to continue to cause a traffic issue, I mean, the last thing that we need is for Cumberland Farms to complain to the town that all the cars are parking in that, what is that?
Their areas,
Or,
yeah.
I mean, people do that, and we can't knowingly say, well, just slip in there.
But I would think that a dry cleaner there is probably a drop and go. It's one of those places that, they're not doing the cleaning there.
Right, exactly.
It's not big enough for that, but you drop off your shirts, you come back a couple days later and you pick them up and go.
There's a lot of walking traffic there, the people walks a lot at that area with dogs and after work or in the morning. So it's convenient for them if we have convenience store or early bakery or something like that.
Yeah, well,
We can't, predict that it's gonna be walkers more than cars. We have to think about the traffic issue that might be a problem.
Which, they are considered to walk. by the health wise or by, they love to walk, they just come to store from the hill, they come down. And usually they said they're walking, they don't bring their cars. So I don't know in future what's going on, because I heard about that, they changed the all area on that site, so I don't know, we could.
I think we're looking for a business that's gonna be there, that's not gonna already be operating busily while the, I don't know if that's a word, busily. While the other two businesses are operating at the same time, because now you have 3 businesses operating with limited parking. So we're trying to come up with ideas that are something for you that might be off hours of the other 2 locations. I thought pet grooming might have been a good thing,
Yeah.
because that's usually appointment based. It's not like you've got 10 people walking in with saying, oh, I need my dog groomed or something like that. But pet grooming could be a good solution.
low parking
Right,
that we need to consider. Yeah. You know, that's why it didn't work out with the pizza.
right. So the purpose of you coming again was to discuss some of these ideas. I think if you stayed away from a food business that operated all day long into the evening, I think would cause an issue with parking there. If it was perhaps a bakery that's more geared towards morning is good. Something like a dry cleaner, I think is good.
Okay.
The pet grooming is a possibility, a pet groomer there. Also, I think pet groomer and dry cleaner would cost very minimal on your build out. I think anything you're doing with food is gonna be an expensive build out in that building with the health department. You're gonna have sinks, you're gonna have a lot more stuff.
Right.
You know, or a place that cuts hair again.
Yeah.
You know, you don't even have to come to us for that because it exists.
It's already existing, yeah.
You know, it was a pre-existing thing,
Uh-huh.
you know, or if you can find someone that does a real estate office, because there was an office there before ZNA Insurance.
Yeah, yes.
You know, that's something that would be automatically allowed. So, I mean, I've had this conversation with them and I'm just trying to let them know.
Yeah.
But I don't think a butcher shop is a good answer. Quite honestly, because there's several already downtown.
Well, and delivering.
Yeah,
With that.
delivery truck would be tough. So you have some good ideas here. I think convenience retail store, you already have that yourself. I think a business like a takeout food business that's gonna be busy in the same time. Other 2 businesses would be difficult, but some of these others are potential.
Yeah.
And I'm glad your husband put this together.
Okay,
I agree.
thank you for helping and I take your time, but just come here to get the help because I invest money and from 2-3 years it was empty and I never generate anything there. I feel bad. So that's how I need your help. So how to solve this problem, how to get together and start something new there. So some option I bring like early morning bakery, which is, I think it is a good idea. Pet grooming always in the appointment by appointments.
Yeah.
And this not walk-in kind, barber shop already there, and you said real estate, so if I found anybody, the
Well,
tenant.
even just a basic office, it could be an engineer, it could be anybody, a surveyor, it could be
Phone
a
repair shop, something like telephone repair shop or something. I
yeah,
wanna
telephone
use that
repair
for-
shop is a minimal use.
I
A,
think the bakery might be problematic in the morning.
that would be your busiest use
Yeah.
of all we discussed.
Okay,
So find a tenant and if you get one, give me a call. We've had this conversation and we go forward.
okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I had one tenant who interested to open a bakery. Portuguese bakery there.
Well, we'd have to, I think that's an expensive build out for the place, for all your health department code stuff. But we would, you know, if something you wanted to bring before this commission, we would bring it,
Okay,
but I don't know. I brought you here to get an idea of what they think and you'd have to really sell them with it.
okay.
Yeah, but they're on Maple Street. I mean, they have apartments, they have a bakery, they have a lot and it works.
I
And people
understand.
complain about it all the
Yes.
time. Parking is a problem.
It is tough, but again, we'll have to look and, you know, see what it is gonna be. It's gonna be one of those things, is a bakery that's gonna be open till 7:30 at night, you know, that's a big difference compared to someone that closes at 2 o'clock.
They used to like that, yeah, but there's 2 bakeries like in a couple of yards from here to there, the Maple one and one is right here from the end. I love that bakery. There's 2 bakeries on this street.
Each
Well,
other.
that's a deli.
It's a deli, right?
Which one?
Before the Nardelle is near appliances store, before the appliances
Oh,
store.
Bertie.
Oh, that's a coffee shop.
That's the coffee shop.
That's a
Breakfast.
a breakfast place, breakfast and lunch.
He has tight parking there too.
He's got a lot more parking than you've got, unfortunately. He's got two
Behind.
sides of the road.
And
He's
behind.
got, yeah.
He has parking behind.
No, he doesn't have any business.
See that?
That's all.
Yeah, it looks like there's gonna be
No,
one,
No, on
two,
the side.
couple spots, nothing significant, though, because I mean, there's so
So
many,
you've got some ideas.
There's
so many
a-
driveways.
Yeah,
But
but there's a lot more parking.
Looks like they're gonna have basically what they have now.
Okay. All right, so you got an idea.
Okay, I will jump on how they built the parking in that area.
Yeah, it's gonna be about the same as what you have now. There's just so many
Across in the
driveways.
bridge,
Is it
something.
gonna be?
Oh, Rite Aid's gonna be the same.
No, no.
No,
across
on the
on
street though, on Rubber Avenue on that side, will there be any parking?
Oh, no.
Because I do see people that park there now.
Where?
I've seen cars parked on that side of Rubber Avenue when they want to run in and run out.
Ooh, on the sidewalk?
Mostly women drivers.
No, I mean,
I don't think so.
yeah, not on the other side. No, the lane's gonna be 11 feet, 2 11-foot lanes, because what they're trying to do is bring the sidewalks in. And shrink the road, slow people down, and then they're having cut-in parking where it's legally appropriate to do.
Yeah.
So you don't have people just pulling off on the sidewalks.
Okay. All right, so
All right,
you get some?
yeah, I just discussed it with him. and
Yeah.
maybe Come back to you guys again.
Yeah, come to
Thank you
me
for
and
your time.
we'll
Thank
put
you.
something together.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, thank you.
All right, we have a zoning,
New business
You've
B,
got to do where the
Business
special
B.
permit
B.
to accept it.
okay. Oh, needs, okay, so new business B, accept the special permit application. Refer to planning commission and set a public hearing date for 6/10.
To make it 6:05. I wasn't sure if we were gonna have the cannabis over.
Okay. Set a public hearing date for 6:05 PM on April 19th, 2023 for a commercial restaurant with drive-through and retail building for the property located at 112 Bridge Street, applicant Berlin Development LLC.
So I have, this is these, we're just accepting it tonight, so I gave you the application tonight. What they provided to us is all the things that they've got to do. You'll see it's a potential, the one store they have right now is going to be a Chipotle. And they don't have a tenant exactly yet for their second building. You'll see in your layout here and whatnot, but we'll have the public hearing next month. But I do want to let you know that I think, I don't know if the second building will be, if we'll be able to approve it or not, because many of the tenants that they're talking to for the second building are really want to know whether or not Chipotle is going to be approved.
Two buildings or one
It's two
building?
buildings, separate buildings. So, a couple, because it could be a medical, I don't want to, I'm just saying what they told me. So it's, okay,
next to the Eastern Company?
it's the Eastern Company building, they own the property now, these people.
Yeah.
The brick building, they're gonna tear that down,
Really?
and they're redoing it, to what you see in here. There are some things in here, and again, the public hearing is next month. But, yeah, they now own it. They put together a plan that includes an entrance that is already there now for Spring Street and Bridge Street. There is gonna be a proposed Chipotle, and in here you'll see that they got some stuff on that. We've met with them several times, looking at that, there's gonna be EV charging stations in the parking lot. But what he said to me was, we don't exactly know our second tenant yet, because some of them don't wanna come if there's no Chipotle. So it really hinges a bit on that.
Wow.
So, but I don't believe it's gonna be a restaurant, put it that way.
Ask him for Wendy.
Is that the one Wendy's was gonna go?
Yeah,
Like
yes,
the-
this is the property that Wendy's did present an application to us that pulled out the last minute.
Yeah.
But, so this will be discussed for next month.
All right. Then I'll accept a motion to accept the special permit application, refer it to planning commission and set a public hearing date for Wednesday, April 19th at 6:05 PM for the proposed restaurant with drive-through and retail store building for the property located at 112 Bridge Street, applicant Berlin RE Development LLC.
So moved.
For a second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So. You have any commission, zoning report?
I just want to thank you all for attending the training on Saturday. I know it's a long day to hear them talking to you and stuff.
I couldn't tell, but there was a webinar. Who was there? You were there?
Yeah.
You were there?
All
Oh,
of you.
everyone did? Oh.
Even AJ attended.
Oh, good.
16.
There was over 800 people,
Yeah.
I believe,
Yeah,
on
that
the-
was
and we had 16 from our commissions
Oh, good.
that were there. But I know it's a lot to give up and it's a lot to listen to all day. Hopefully it was beneficial to you. On that, otherwise, we are meeting regularly right now with people at various properties in town for development. Like I said, some of these things, this Ridge Street thing, we've met with several people on over the past several months. Give them ideas. Even with Zen Leaf, we met with them several times. For the past 2 weeks, it's probably been daily conversations talking about their site plans and whatnot. So there seems to be a lot of activity going on. And I think you're gonna see a lot of digging up going on in downtown Naugatuck in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a good question. The, Church Street, is that not gonna get paved until everything happens down here? Cause right now, it's like riding a roller coaster for Disney World.
The short answer is you're correct.
I thought so.
It's,
I'm going to
well, we've got
perfect.
sidewalks starting hopefully this fall on this portion. And in the fall on this portion. And we've also got, water lines going in over there and gas lines going on in up there. And it's, it's farm repairs and sewer repairs. It's just a huge amount of work to be done and you just can't. I know it's terrible, but we pave it and then it's just gonna get all cut up.
Yeah,
And
I drive Meadow Street to Division Street now,
yeah.
instead of driving in front of the Y. It's so bumpy. I did want to point out, I have met several times with Dollar General,
Oh, yeah,
so.
yeah, they cleaned it up a lot.
I've been dealing with the store manager and with Matt Uclito, the owner of the property. And it does appear they're going to, sit down, you're not going. They are probably gonna increase the size of their trasher, the trash enclosure, so that they can hide the stuff inside there. I said, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because I said to I went out there several times, I said, you got these carts outside and your trash enclosure is empty. So shouldn't you be putting it inside there? So
yeah.
it's, from what I'm told, not an uncommon problem in Dollar General and others.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen
The way they
Waterbury
extend it
all
back and
down,
forth.
they have, yeah,
But I just want to let you know I've been
thank you,
doing that.
thank you.
Do we have any, comment from the public? I don't know. Do we have any comment from the public? Do we have any comment from the public? If,
I have comments.
go ahead.
This tree removal across from Peter Paul. They've clear cut that entire piece of property.
How come they didn't get a permit?
Right,
Because they didn't stump.
but everything's gone.
They cut the trees, they did not stump. Now, they are coming to us because they're going to be wanting a plan to be done. So that was the difference I explained before, stumping and a person can go and cut the trees, you leave the stumps. That's a different case, because you're not necessarily, you're not excavating, you're just taking the trees away. So there is a difference on that. But when you're stumping and digging up the ground to take the stumps out, that's considered excavating. And that's why the gentleman from Borghese had to come in tonight, because they were also going to be stumping. So they did not stump, they stumped an area, obviously, for an access road in,
Yeah.
but they did not need necessarily a permit from us to do it. So they were doing it with the thoughts of getting into the property to determine how much rock has to come out, what they have to do, and then they're gonna eventually be developing.
So are they gonna get in it from Osborne Road or Warren Avenue?
Oh, it's from, New Haven Road.
Right from the road up.
Yeah, they only own along New Haven Road.
Oh, okay.
They have no egress from any other road. The borough owns the property. We took it for back taxes
Right.
from a previously approved project. We then split it. And they purchased some of the properties that were on New Haven Road from private owners, knocked down a house, I think at least one house, I don't know if it's two. And now they own that whole parcel there. So they wanted to get in, they combined all the lots to one lot there. And now they wanted to go in and see what's there for land and what they've got to take out to know what they can develop.
All right, I didn't think we allowed clear cutting land without approval. And the fact is that they got rid of everything, but what if they don't do anything? Now it's just like naked property that, you know?
But again, you can cut trees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I know
if they're
you-
wetlands, it would be something we could do about it, right? You know what I mean?
Right. but
I probably got,
Do we know if there's any wetland
no, there's no-
consideration over there? No?
and I've probably gotten 50 calls about it, and I tell everyone, they have a right to cut trees. They're
Yeah.
not stumping. We have specific conversations with them about that. Now, they may be coming back to do some stumping, and they may need to do something.
Yeah. And just the other, just stupid question, I guess, it's in regulations, but, we get the we get the applications and we don't do anything with them except send them right to planning. And as soon as we accept it, the 30-day or the 65 days starts counting. Once we accept it. Does it make sense to just have it go through planning? We never say no.
Planning has to have a report, they have to.
It's in our requirement.
Right, I know, but. it's
So-
just-
And they
it's
only
like
have a
you're
certain
losing
amount of
30
time.
days already. Cause we accept it, so by the time we get it next month, it's already 30 days gone. Just.
Right,
So
but
you
they,
have to accept it, you have to accept it either at the next regularly scheduled meeting, do you know what I mean? So they give it to us,
that's a state requirement.
and we have to accept
The
it.
process we're following is a state requirement.
And then planning only has a certain amount of time, because if they don't act in 35 days, then it's an automatic approval on some
Right.
things.
Right, no, I realize that, it's just.
Because they
Seems like
also
it doesn't
just
make
give us the plans. They just got the plans, so.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like they could have gone to planning earlier and
Yeah.
started the ball rolling. Do they need an actual zone?
Referral. I
Planning
think
need a
they need-
referral from zoning?
Yes.
Well, you have to.
We
get
have to do it. We have to accept the plan, because we also send it, we don't put it in our statement, but we give it to police and fire also, and to WPCA. But planning does require a referral from us.
Right, and again, I realize that, but it just seems. a little-
And then you gotta schedule a public hearing, so there's,
Right.
so you don't have, you're not
So the-
really losing any time, because you've gotta accept it, schedule a public hearing.
Right, we
Hopefully
have,
in that time period. Planning does,
Right,
sewers do their thing, everyone else does their thing, and you don't.
So if planning didn't,
maybe it does it before we get,
if planning did, right, they get to look at everything before us.
yeah,
If planning did not meet, we wouldn't necessarily open our public hearing, or we could. But, we have 65 days to open
right,
a public hearing, 35 days to close it, And then-
65 days
and
to-
65 days to vote. But there's also 65 days of extension time that the applicant can request
right.
Any of those.
on any of those time
It's not
periods.
usually a problem. 'cause,
No.
I don't know.
It does seem a little crazy. Now, here's the other thing. That's why in many cases, I don't know if they went over this in the training. If there is a wetlands application necessary, Sometimes they will go before wetlands, before even coming to any of the other commissions. Because if wetlands doesn't approve it, they're dead in the water.
Yeah, they have to simultaneously or prior.
They could do it before or at the same time. Yeah, but it's literally dead in the water. If wetlands says no, there's no sense even coming here. And yet they're not required to go to training. Wetlands.
They're talking about it. You went to the training, you would have heard that they're talking about.
Got the most power of any.
Okay.
Neil, you have anything?
Maybe it's because they were.
Ready to go, buddy.
Yeah, there you go.
Francis?
I really enjoyed the training. It was a really long day. I was glad it was virtual, but I really enjoyed the fair housing, affordable housing piece of it, the conflict of interest. So I found it very informative. Thank you.
Did they go over anything in regard to public hearings? And
Yep.
during the public hearing time period of commissioners communicating with ex parte communication?
No, really.
Yeah,
He
I
didn't
actually
really get
did
a chance. That was at the end of his thing and he ran out of time, I think.
That's like on a big issue, that could be the biggest appeal thing. That if someone has a conversation outside the public hearing and someone appeals it. Sometimes people try to set you up.
I think they might have talked about it a little bit in
Just
the
a
conflict
little
of
at the
interest
end.
piece too. I feel like
They didn't
they
But you're-
gave some examples, but
You have
not.
to realize you're a jury, you know, once the public hearing starts, you're a jury. And you can't go out and fact find, you can't go out. You know, talk to witnesses or get testimony on your own. That's the biggest thing.
It was better for the ones who either followed the book or it would be better if they had slides for us, because the second lady who spoke, she just spoke, she was getting
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah,
There was no,
wasn't she the zoning one too?
Marjorie, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first one I liked, followed the book, the second one she was,
But they did say that they were gonna send
Mhm.
copies.
yeah, of their.
Is that going to you guys or will it come to us?
I'm thinking it should go to everybody. 'Cause
That if
everybody's-
you were registered, I think you should get it directly,
Okay.
because they'll just send it out as a bulk email. So check your spam mail. Because a lot of times when they send out bulk email, it goes to your spam.
And
Yeah,
sometimes it takes time, because they have to download it and, you know, if
Right.
they do the voice part or what they're doing.
I don't know, quite honestly, Michelle talked with the woman, obviously, there a lot. With all we had a lot of people saying they could make it, they couldn't make it, changing, adding people. And the woman said this was way bigger than they ever thought it was gonna be.
it's required now.
Yeah.
Is it-
The town's trying to get people in.
Eileen, you went in person. Did you like in person or
Yeah,
you like the in person better?
I do.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like, first of all, I like to look at people.
I agree with you.
And, yeah, I don't know, it's impersonal by Zoom. Yeah, I don't like Zoom. I didn't like it with school conferences. No.
I found it easier to have headset now. It makes it much easier to hear. Keep up with that, but I like it better.
Well,
Well, can I interject? It makes it much easier to record so we can play it back. So that's a good thing.
That's true.
all right, I'll accept the motion. Is there anything else? All right, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.